بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب. Today I have some really, inshallah ta'ala, wonderful things to share with you, and I want to show you the power of Quran, and I want to show you that how awesome the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And so we all know that Saudi Arabia was attacked, right? We all know that Saudi Arabia oil output takes a major hit after apparent drone attacks claimed by Yemen rebels. Now we know that this happened, and this happened about 4 days ago. Now, using Quran, and this for many of you who are my listeners and have been listening to me for at least 2-3 months, know that I talked about Tayran Ababil as drones that Iran would use at some point, and I gave a particular scenario, but from the Quran it was very clear that drones would be used by the Persians. And so here I need to explain one thing, inshallah ta'ala, but first why don't we go ahead and listen to this clip of mine where I had talked about this on June 21st, about Iran's drone technology and how it related to certain parts of the Quran. And you can always go to the speech and listen to it in more detail, but I will give a small detail today because I have something very, 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 very important to share with you today, inshallah ta'ala. But let's start with this. So the case is being built, and the charge sheet is going to be there to be able to convince all the countries that, hey, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And I don't think America wants to do this alone. It's going to try to get other countries involved. The only country America will tell, no, baby, you sit at home while I do your work, will be the state of Israel. And so, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ? Did you not see how Allah dealt with the people of the elephant? أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ? Their plan went wrong, right? So, وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Allah sent upon them small little flying objects called Ababil. And trust me, the Iranian military has drones called Ababil. تَرْمِيهِمْ بِهِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. And those drones, they came with something that turned the elephants. And so you get the idea, right? So I had talked about this scenario using Quran just not long ago, a few months ago, okay? And now I want to very, very quickly talk about how did I do this type of interpretation? What was the basis of it? You see, the Quran is eternal. It is the eternal language of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the eternal word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran, the whole Quran is like the kun, right? The be of Allah. It is the word of Allah. It is eternal. It is from ever. It is timeless. So therefore, when Quran talks about a particular time, it is talking about that particular time primarily because it relates to the revelation coming to the Prophet. But because the Quran is eternal and the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is eternal by our faith, okay? The Quran is the kalam of Allah, it's the sifa of Allah, it is the quality of Allah, and it is always eternal. And so therefore the events that are mentioned, that relate to different ayat of Quran and why they came down, are not only for that time, but point to also another time where a similar scenario will take place. One of the ways to do that is to look at the language Quran is using, especially when that language is outside the Arabic language. So Surah Al-Fil, for example, uses Persian words, 2 Persian words, fil and sijil. And when Quran uses something like Ashabul Fil, the people of the elephant, we know that in today, and because every word of Quran is true, it is haqq, it is absolutely true. So the Republican Party is the Ashabul Fil of today. See, so the Republican Party is the Ashabul Fil of today, and وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Tayran means a small flying bird, or a small flying object. Like I said to you, even the last time I talked, if you Google flying drone, you'll see the word tayra, okay? Tuyur is a large plane. Tayra is a small bird, or a small drone would be called a tayra. So it was, and we already know that the surah has to do with the Persian language, and we know that, as I already mentioned, that Iran has basically gone very, very far in its drone technology, and we already knew this from before. So much so that the Iranian drones were able to hack Israeli drones and exchange the pictures that they were taking with other pictures. Okay, the point here is that the Quran is, if the Quran was meant to be only by the events, then it would be in the chronological order of its events. But the Quran is not. Quran was revealed in one order, which was important, but Quran is read in its eternal order. Okay? And so the room also points to this. But I just want to continue very quickly to the next very, very important points that I want to make. Okay. So, petroleum has been steadily more useful and valuable since the first oil was drilled, etc., etc. But, oil was found in the Middle East. It became a race. I just want to get to this part over here. Okay, shortly after the first oil concessions in Persia, now Iran, which was what were granted, the race for Middle East oil was on. And since that time, the discovery and the exploitation of oil in the Middle East has had a profound influence on modern society and politics, etc., etc. But I'm just simply saying that, okay, so oil was discovered and the world changed. We all understand this, right? Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's continue, inshallah. Now, everyone says, why did we go to Iraq? Meaning the U.S. Why did we go to Iraq? We went to Iraq because what? Because oil was being bought and sold in dollars, and Saddam Hussein wanted to sell it in something other than dollars. Okay, and you'll see how this relates to the current situation that's happening in Saudi Arabia, and it's oil. The invasion of Iraq, dollar versus euro. That's what it was. It was about that Saddam Hussein wanted to sell the oil in something other than the dollar, but now Iran has been successful in doing that, selling the lack of production oil in the black market using gold and euro. They're redominating Iraqi oil in the US dollars instead of the euro. This is what the Iraqi invasion was about. The Iraqi invasion was to make sure that Iraq's oil is sold in dollars. America doesn't need the oil. It already has enough reserves and everything for itself. What it wants is to sell the oil in dollars. Okay? Okay. Now, Iraq nets handsome profit by dumping dollar for euro. Okay, this was back in the day before Iraq was attacked. Okay, now, very, very important. The oil that is in Iran is near the Tigris-Euphrates basin. Okay, it is within there, and I'll show you the maps in a second. The Tigris-Euphrates basin is shared by Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Kuwait. Many Tigris, which is connected to Euphrates, and remember the hadith of the Prophet about Euphrates, and today I'm going to show you what the Prophet actually said. Those of you who know Arabic will appreciate today the exact wordings of the Prophet, because usually we say it is a mountain of gold, a mountain of gold, a mountain of gold. The Prophet did not say, please, the Prophet did not say a mountain of gold. Go back and look at the exact wordings, which I will do it with you today in just a short bit. Okay? The Tigris-Euphrates basin is shared by Turkey, Syria, Iraq. Many Tigris tributaries originate in Iran, meaning it starts from the southern western part of Iran and goes up into Iraq, into Turkey. Okay? All right. So, let us continue now. This is a picture of the Euphrates starting at the southern border of Iran, where the border of Iraq and Iran is shared, and then the Euphrates and Tigris goes up from there. Okay? So now, this is another picture of the Euphrates River, very quickly. Okay. This is another picture of the Euphrates River. All right, let's continue. Now, this is the picture of the Iranian oil. Okay, this is a picture of where Iran's oil is along with where the Euphrates River is. And we know what the Prophet said, that you would find a mountain of what? Mountain of gold? That's not what the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to tell you what he said, but I just need you to see here that the oil in Iran is going side by side with Euphrates quite a lot. Okay, all of Iran's, a good number of Iran's oil is offshore, by the way, where the Euphrates is deposited, and a lot of it is onshore too. Okay, and Iran is a big producer of oil, as you know. Okay, so we're going to talk about what's happening in the world regarding the oil world, and just some very, very important things about the dollar, because if you understand the dollar is connected to the oil. And this is why I was talking about Saddam Hussein trying to sell oil for euro, which was the real reason that they went into Iraq. Okay, now that we've shown you this map, let's continue further. Over here is another picture of the parts of the places where oil is drilled in Iran. Okay, this is another picture. Okay, here's another picture, but I want to show you the major oil fields in Iran. Where are they? You see that? That is in that same southern western tip. Over here is the Gash Saran oil field in Iran. This is the Agha Jari oil field in Iran. This is the Merun field. Okay, these are all where? In the same area right where Euphrates is. Okay, just keep this in mind. The Ahvaz oil field in Iran. Okay, and the largest Iranian oil fields. I just showed you the pictures of where they are located. Now, what did the Prophet say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And he said it there are many ahadiths about this issue, but we're only for today because it's already 12 minutes into me talking, and I always try to keep it as short as possible. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Yushakul Furat. He said, Yushaku is also means I fear that this will happen. I kind of fear that this is going to happen. But Yushaku means soon also. But soon as it's going to happen, not in a good way necessarily. Furat is what? The Euphrates, okay? Yushaku Furat an yahsira an kanz min az-zahab. Min az-zahab. Not kanzul zahab. Not a treasure of gold. Kanz min az-zahab. A treasure from gold. A treasure, kanz. Kanz means what? Kanz means treasure. Min means from. Zahab means gold. Kanz means treasure. Min means from. Zahab means gold. A treasure from gold. Or a treasure, min means of. You could say in the sense of not the, like it's not kanzul zahab, but kanz min az-zahab. A treasure from gold. Because the new gold was the oil. The oil was what replaced, the dollar was taken off of gold, the metal gold, and was replaced with oil. And so this makes more sense in the wordings of this hadith, which is mentioned over and over again, which one day I'm going to show you all of the listings of this hadith. Kanz min az-zahab. Kanz, a treasure, min, zahab, of, not of, but from gold. A treasure from the gold. Min means part of, having to do a part of. Min, like if Allah said, min ashabil nar, from the people of the hellfire, from something. It is related to that. So a treasure that is min zahab, a treasure that is related to the gold. And then the Prophet says, فَمَنْ حَذَرَ, whoever is there at that time when the gold is going to be coming out of Euphrates, then what? فَمَنْ حَذَرَهُ, whoever is present at that time, فَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا, don't take anything of that treasure that is from gold, that is of gold, that is replacing the gold, okay? Don't take anything from it. And then in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ goes on to say, يُوشَكُ فُرَاتْ يَحْصِرَ أَنْ كَنْزْ مِنَ الزَّهَبِ again. فَمَنْ حَذَرَ فَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا. Whoever is present at that time must not take anything from that. From the thing that is related to gold or part of gold or concerned with gold. Min al-dhahab. Okay? Because if you understand the harf, min has many interesting meanings. But if it meant gold, like a treasure of gold, right? Or then it would have been kanzul zahab. But because it says kanz min al-zahab, a treasure from relating to gold, then that has a different meaning, and that fits more properly into what has historically happened. يُوشَكُ فُرَاتْ أَنْ يَحْصِرَ أَنْ جَبَلٍ. I fear a time soon where Furat, Euphrates, will, uncover what a mountain, not Jablul Zahab, not a mountain of gold, Jabal min Zahab. A mountain that relates to or is part of gold, is not exactly gold, but it is part of, has min of it, the harf min. فَمَنْ حَذَرَهُ فَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا. Whoever is there at that time, let him not take any part of it. Oil has been a disaster for this world. Oil has been a disaster to this world for many, many reasons. The least of which is attaching the oil to the dollar. And the least of which is to privatize oil instead of making it a public property, which is what Islamic law requires, that the grass and the air and the oxygen and everything the earth gives is the property of everyone. But no, some people just try to take that space and say it's mine. And then they sell it only in one particular currency, and that causes problems in the world. It's caused huge problems in the world. And the Prophet said, don't take part in it. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تقوم الساعة. The hour will not come حتى يحصر Furat and Jabal. The hour will not come until Furat, Hatta, and the other thing is, Yahsira means to uncover. Okay, uncover. Furat, an is also a very interesting harf here. Somebody should do a very deep analysis of all the possibilities, but an and min. So you have Furat, an. An means concerning. Okay, concerning. The river of Furat will uncover something concerning a mountain, like a mountain. Okay, an Furat, min, again, min, not Jablul Zahab is not there, Kanzul Zahab is not there, but Kanz min al-Zahab, Jabal min al-Zahab is there. And then what does the Prophet say? This gold, this thing that relates to gold that will be discovered, فَيَقْتَتِلِ النَّاسِ عَلَيْهِ. The people will fight over this. People are fighting over oil. Because it is connected to that, they connected it to the dollar and to the gold and replacing the oil with the gold, and because of doing that, عَلَيْهِ فَيَقْتَلْ مِنْ كُلِّ عَشْرَ تِسْعَةٍ. So it will create a war out of which 9 out of 10 people will die. So you don't think that when this oil is going to create wars, this oil is going to create a lot of wars. And why will Israel end up in Asfahan? It'll end up in Asfahan because there's going to be a lot of wars over these oils, and whatever is left over, Iraq, Israel will take over. But there's another point that's very, 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 very important. Now that you understand that the dollar is tied to the oil, and now that you understand there will be many wars over oil, what does that do to the dollar? If the dollar being attached to the oil is it makes the American power, then the war against the dollar, war against oil in any shape or form is war against the dollar and American power. Okay, let's continue. So what does Trump want to do? Trump suggests he could take steps to weaken the dollar. He wants to weaken the dollar because if the dollar does not get weak, Israel cannot come to the top. The oil gives America such tremendous power over the world that unless the dollar is broken away from the oil, because there's just so much oil being bought every single day, that there's no way anyone can compete against this country. It's just not possible. And the only way is to weaken the dollar, which means you either weaken the dollar or you create problems with oil. And this is why things happen in Venezuela and other countries, and why other countries like Russia or Iran, these are all countries with, a lot of these countries with problems, that are having problems, that have antagonism with each other, is because of oil. And Trump suggests he could take steps to weaken the U.S. oil, and he's presenting this as a good thing. But this is the way to make Israel, this is the way to bring America down, to bring Israel up, which is the ultimate agenda a lot of these people have. Okay, so Trump wants to weaken a weaker U.S. dollar, and here's why. And he goes into his reasons why. But the real reason is because they want someone else to be on top. And they can't be on top as long as there is a strong dollar. Trump boasts he could weaken U.S. dollar in 2 seconds if he wants to. And perhaps when these oil fields were attacked, they did detect it, but they just looked the other side because someone was thinking, this weakens the dollar. This threatens the dollar. Let's continue. Dollar dips after Trump says U.S. should play currency manipulation game like Europe and China. Anything to hurt the dollar. Larry Summers blasts Trump on dollar. No nation can devalue its way to prosperity. So somebody was upset with Trump and he said that. Trump threatens to devalue the dollar aren't credible. But the point is, meaning Trump says to devalue the dollar is the way, but what he's saying is not credible. Okay? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Gold and silver prices surge amid global turmoil. You see, after the attacks in Saudi Arabia, what happened? Gold and silver went up. You know why gold and silver went up? You know what the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet said there will come a time. They were using gold and silver at the time of the Prophet. But if you read Nihaya wa Bidaya of Imam ibn Kathir, he quotes a hadith, the Prophet said there will come a time where gold and silver are the only things that will have value. Because gold and silver and precious metals go up in the stock market when they fear the normal everyday economy is going down. And so you have to realize that the reason there was, this was a big deal, this is a big shock. What Iran just showed the U.S. in using Yemen to do this, right, is a big shock for the U.S. because it's kind of like, okay, so they can hurt us and they can hurt the dollar. But maybe some people in the government want the dollar to be hurt. Gold jumps 1% as attacks on Saudi lift safe haven bets. Even though I have to say, when the stock market, when the drones hit the Saudi oil, the stock market acted the next day like, we don't think the U.S. is going to attack Iran. because it acted pretty much normal, you know. And so that tells you that Wall Street at least is thinking that there's going to be no war. But what's interesting is that, you know, things can go in any way. So anyway, but Wall Street was acting like there's, and maybe that is the case because some people know that if there's a war, it's going to hurt a lot of oil fields. And this is a bigger discussion, but I'm only giving hints here. Stocks are plunging as traders pile into havens after drone stock slashed. Over here it says they're plunging. They didn't go bad that much, but they did plunge a little bit. I mean, they went down, but then they came back up. Why Saudi oil attack is a big deal that could be a game changer in stock markets and crude oil prices. But Iran's there to say to the world, hey, I got the extra oil in the black market. Hey, just buy it from me. You don't need it from Saudi Arabia, but I'm going to sell it to you in euro, which is going to ultimately hurt the dollar. And that is their goal. That is the goal that Russia has. That is the goal that Iran has. It's the goal that China has. And this is what, so this is one of the big new, and while the Sunnis and the Shias are fighting, and while this game of currency warfare is taking place, you know, Israel is right there watching everything and waiting to pick up the pieces when it's all said and when it's all done and when it's all fought over. And like the Prophet said, there will be wars. 9 out of 10 people will die. A lot of people are going to die. Maybe me and you will also be dead at the end of these wars. Because at the time of Isa, there won't be maybe that many people. According to some of the sequencing of some of the hadiths makes it that could be a possible scenario. Okay, so we will end here inshallah ta'ala today. So what is the point? The point is that we are headed towards the war between Saudi and Iran, whether directly or by proxy, is inevitable at this point. There will be a war, and the only thing the Houthis can do that will really hurt the Saudis, that they can probably do at a cost that is cost effective, is continue to hurt these oil fields, and it will begin to do what? You know, it's going to begin to hurt America, it's going to begin to hurt Saudi, and it could cause a big chain reaction, right? وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Let me now mention what I was saying. So Surah Al-Kawthar, I was saying, like, Kawthar is the hawd, is the fountain that will be there on the Day of Judgment. But the word Kawthar has been given by scholars more than 21 meanings, not based upon a particular event. When this surah was revealed and the people were telling the Prophet, you're not going to have any son, and Allah said, I'll give you the Kawthar. Right? I'll give you the thing that's in abundance. And the thing that's in abundance is the dhikr of the Prophet, for example. Or the thing that's in abundance is the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example. But the narration of the hadith is about a specific event. But we gave the word Kawthar many meanings. Because we also look at the language of Quran for its many meanings. And so when you look at the word Tayran, you're not only looking at just one historical meaning of its historical background, but you're also looking at its many meanings that can be applied in the whole field of that, because Quran is in Arabic, and Quran's explanation is primarily in Arabic. Quran is, the Arabic language is the explainer of the Quran, the word of Allah. So, وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. And they will be pelting them. These little birds, these little drones will be pelting. And فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَسْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ, and will make them as if they were ma'kul. Akala means to eat. Ma'kul is what you eat. What is the, you know, like a vomit, or what comes out from the other side is, you know, and it's going to smell bad. It's going to smell bad, it's going to look bad, and it's going to be rotten, right? And that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So we can expect more of these types of scenarios as long as Saudi Arabia is fighting Yemen, which it doesn't plan to stop anytime soon. And so you can find more problems happening. But over here, I'd like you to appreciate the sayings of the Prophet, that he said you would find a mountain that is of gold a mountain of gold, min, or relates to gold, or a treasure that relates to gold, that has something to do with gold, okay? And that is that the gold, right, was replaced by oil, so it relates to the gold. A mountain that relates, a mountain, a treasure, meaning a mountain of, a gold of mountain that relates to it being a gold of mountain. So that's the more proper translation of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And I would like you to appreciate that how our Prophet was told and how he forecasted these events, and how Quran is such a dynamic book that we can use, we can understand before time. Before time, that, oh, because the Quran uses Persian words and connect it with what's happening today, and you could have told that, oh, Iran's going to be an expert at drone technology. It's right there in the Quran. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم. Make sure to subscribe today, and make sure you like, and make sure you leave your comments and ideas. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا